answer
and
session or
in
just in,
so that
so
way
that
people
way people are not just into
conference
this conference call. But they
really,
really,
really need to
really,
get
really
this
need to get this
information
information
out and
out, and we need to
kind of be
kind of be
streamlined.
streamlined.
So please
Please
keep
hold
hold your
your
questions,
questions,
or if
or if
you
you
could
could
tweet
tweet
me
me
at
at
Feminista
Feminista
Jones.
Jones.
If
If
you
you
don't
don't
have
have
Twitter,
Twitter,
I don't know what to say.
it's so hard imagining people not having Twitter. But honestly, we're going to cover as much as possible. So I would say this. I would say
after
after
the
the conference call, coordinate
our
what days during the questions. And afterwards, just kind of shoot an email or shoot a message to the main page, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. We're pretty sure if you have questions, somebody else does too. Rachel?
All right. Thanks, everybody who's joining us. We really appreciate you all being on the call. This is Scott Roberts. I'm one of the organizers for the call. We're just asking everybody, as you come on, if you can put yourself onto mute by pressing *6 on your phone. That way we can minimize on the background noise, and everybody will be able to hear the call, and hopefully that will also make the call go a lot smoother and faster. So again, just press *6 on your phone to go on mute. If you're just joining us, thank you. This is Scott Roberts. Just asking everybody, as you come on, just try and mute your phone. You press *6 on your phone to mute. That way we'll all be able to hear a little more clearly, and the call will go more smoothly. So thanks again. All right, folks. Thanks again to everybody for joining us.
Recognizing I right now.
It is working, Feminista. Yes.
Hi, this is Jason Frelo from Queen Anne Baptist Church in Seattle.
All right, welcome, Jason.
Hello, this is Brianna Oldham from Leisure Portland. Sounds like a pinball game. Okay, muting. Hello. Hi, this is Renita Kelly from Michigan.
All right, thanks, Michigan.
Joseph.
All right, thanks, Joseph. So.
Hi, this is Carrie Richmond from Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock in the house. I remember that community day in Little Rock. I was like,
letting people know how old I am, because I remember back in Little Rock.
Hey, ladies, Kenesha Burton in Brooklyn.
What up?
Los Angeles.
Brooklyn and Los
Angeles in the house. Listen, Diego, California.
Okay, mute your phone.
Mute your phone. Glad you're here. We have invited 90 people. We do. I don't think that I don't think that all 98 people are going to share up because people don't know how to follow directions. There are going to be a lot of people on this call, so we are asking that you do mute your phone. What you have to say is great. And we're going to do it right now. All right.
We're going to probably start in
like
a minute or so,
just because we do have a lot of information. We don't want to keep you a long time. Tomorrow's going to be a really long day. For those of us on the East Coast, it is getting kind of late. So, we're here. If you are listening on the conference call, you have myself, Scott Roberts, and Larry, who I don't call him Larry because, Larry Shepard, but he's been on the phone so much. He's like my brother now, so we're just like the same blood. He's been kind of playing like he don't know us. That's okay.
Oh.
Because we like him.
That's what y'all to know. White people got white people right here.
When the white people were on the phone, maybe when they want to go, and you people are late. And you were late. And if you're right and you're late, you're probably quadroon. It's okay.
So what I was saying,
To people is that, hello, it's South from Atlanta, Georgia. ATL is in the house. So listen, mute your phone. So during the conversation, the three of us are going to be talking, and you're going to be listening, and you're going to be taking notes or whatever. But if you have questions and you are on Twitter, you can send me a tweet at Sunday Mr. Jones. You guys can stop talking about me being drunk. Listen, it was 2 to 1 at the happy hour. Don't judge me, okay? Just send me a tweet. Just, with your questions. If people are having the same kind of questions, that's fine. Can you give us at least like 20 minutes to talk about stuff before you start asking questions, though? So that'd be awesome. And then if we don't answer your questions and you don't have Twitter or what have you, shoot me an email at the end. It is info@sunnylisajones.com. Or you can go to the main page and send me a message. It will be nice to drown out some of the racist bullshit that I'm getting on that page. So, I'll take your question that was probably answered during the call over something else that somebody said anyway. Y'all ready to get this thing started, brethren?
I'm ready.
alright,
Stop tweeting me about me being drunk. I swear to God, stop. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to
the
organizational conference call for the National Moment of Silence. If you're joining us on the conference call, great. If you're joining us on
thank you for looking at our faces and listening. I hope you can hear me. I did turn my tablet down. I was having some technical difficulties. I am Feminista Jones. I'm a black woman in America. There. That's really what you need to know. But for those of you who do know a little bit more about me, you do know that I am a writer, you know that I am a social worker, you do know that I'm an activist, and you do know that I am somebody who cares about making the world a better place. This idea really came organically. There is a story guy out there. I don't need to bore you with it, but basically, I know that because of the platform that I have, I can reach a lot of people, and we need to start working together to bring about change. Many of you are aware that in the last, the last 6 months, we just seem to have been inundated with reports of police brutality across the country, whether it has been resulting in people who have been unarmed being killed, or people being brutalized, or abused, or sexually assaulted. The police have really started to kind of show their asses a bit. My language. I do curse a lot, and I'm going to try not to, because I know I got some elders on this phone, and I don't want to be disrespectful. I know there's a few references, and I apologize. God is still working on it. So there's been a lot going on, and what I realized was that people are angry, right? And so when people are angry, it's one of those emotions that leads to rather erratic behavior. And I remember about almost 50 years ago, when Martin Luther King was shot, James Brown had a concert in Boston that basically saved the city of Boston. People were so upset, they were about to tear it up, and he gave a concert the next day and invited people to come and to kind of settle themselves and just be together and try to heal and console each other and use this therapy. And thinking that we can do the same. The nation needs comfort at this moment. And each of you is going to play a very vital part in turning things around for us. So these vigils are really going to present the next step. What are we going to do? But before we can do anything, we have to settle. We have to know who each other are. We have to kind of take a moment to honor and pay respect to all the lives that have been lost, all of the people that have been severely injured, people that have been traumatized by living in a police state that uses violence to control people. And it hurt me, it hurts you, that's why you stepped up, because you're tired. So this call, basically, we're going to try to make sure that things kind of stay in line, right? Because I'm noticing that a lot of people have a lot of questions. What should I do? I've never run a vigil before, and I'm so happy that you are here and you've never done anything like this before. That's important, because the whole point of this, and I said this very early, this is not about me. I could do this in my sleep. This is about creating a spark in more of you and getting more of you to step up. Like the sister said, she said, there are no leaders coming, the leaders are us, or something to that effect. Each one of you is a leader. Each one of you has the potential to change the world. And I just want to make sure that you all know that. So here we are. The first thing I definitely want to say is you need to leave your ego at the door. Okay? This is not about you. This is not about you becoming popular or famous or you controlling things. It's not about you dominating. You are a facilitator. Okay? So you need to make sure that you kind of leave your ego at the door and kind of work with everybody else. We need to be on board. And I say that because I keep trying to stress to people the message that we're getting out. We got to make sure that they're all the same, okay? So just leave your ego at the door. We're here to give you some information and some tools this evening, afternoon, wherever you are. I think I have somebody from Hawaii who may be checking in. And just kind of, just remember what we're here for. There are people who have died. There are families who can't make sense of anything. There are communities that are in turmoil right now. And we're here trying to bring different energy to it, okay? I'm going to turn it over to Scott. Scott's going to introduce himself, let you guys know who he is, and then Larry will do the same, and we'll get it going.
All right. Thanks, Feminista. My name is Scott Roberts. I'm my day job, I'm a campaign manager at a civil rights organization called Advancement Project, and kind of come to this coming in here and trying to support the National Moment of Silence through my work with a collective of organizers that Larry and I are part of called Freedom Side. I'm here because, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm inspired by and grateful for the, Feminista showing some leadership in this moment and some vision, but frankly more inspired by the by all of you all who stepped up, many of you right almost immediately after the call was put out and putting up these events, and then seeing so many people RSVPing for them just said to me that this is the right thing in this moment, and it's resonating with a lot of people. So I'm just really grateful to be able to play some role in supporting. Really want to give props to Feminista and even Larry, who've been doing most of the work. But that's it. I'll shut up so we can get on with things. Larry, do you want to introduce yourself next? Larry, you sound pretty low. I don't think we can hear you.
Is Larry trying to talk to us from the living room and his phone is in the bathroom?
Oh, no.
Come on, bruh. What is going on? We're having so much struggle. Larry, what's going on, bruh? Scott,
Yeah, I think we do. Larry, I don't know if you need to call back in or something, brother, but we can't really hear you right now.
Call back in. All right. Okay. So I'll talk about the purpose of the vigils. We're gonna wait for Larry to call back in so he can introduce himself. A lot of you know I just found I had a brother that's like 7 months older than me that we never knew about. I just found him out and I call him new brother. But Larry's about to read new brother too. That's the homie right there. Okay. So first of all, we are calling these vigils, right? We are not calling them protests. They are not boycotts. They are not demonstrations. I've noticed some people have been using language like that, and I am discouraging it. And I really need people to kind of trust me on this. I've been in this game for a minute. I need you to trust me on this. Language matters, okay? We are convening in a vigil, and I want you to approach it with the respect you would approach a wake or a funeral, okay? I want you to kind of have that demeanor and that humility, because we are honoring the lives of people, innocent lives that were taken, okay? So we want to take a moment just to remember who they are, and we want to be able to have that moment of silence. Really is one of introspection, to really kind of just focus on what's been there. We want to be able to offer each other support. I've had a number of people say to me, listen, I have no one to talk to about this. I'm just so angry. I don't know what to do. I can't stop crying or what have you. This is a moment for you to come with perfect strangers because you're all kind of feeling the same way to kind of come and kind of just let that out. This is also an opportunity for you to talk about your experiences with police brutality or people that you have lost that maybe didn't make the news. If there's one thing I know is that this stuff happens and the news won't report it if it's not something they think is going to be worthy. And the lives of many of us on this call are not considered worthy. Maybe you know somebody that was, brutalized by the police, or maybe you were. I know when I was young, I was arrested for being black on the corner. It was my first experience ever, and I was a teenager in the back of the car with my hands held tightly behind my back, and it was my first introduction to what America was about. And I know that changed things for me. So if you have anything like that and you want to share and you want to talk about that, you're welcome to do that. Some of the larger events probably won't facilitate that, but I know the vigils that maybe have like 15, 20 people will be more conducive to that. We want you to build with each other. Right, here we go. I think Chicago has like 700 people coming. 700 people who probably never met each other, will not have met each other before tomorrow. So you're going to be in a space with like-minded people, and we're hoping that you are able to connect. And later on, Larry and Scott are going to talk about ways that we can connect and build information, because we are going to have some next steps. I have not been advertising that on Twitter because I am trying to avoid the police coming and killing us. So they think that we are organizing some massive movement. You better believe they're going to descend on it. So we are planning a revolution, and it's going to begin tomorrow. But I just want to make that clear that this is not the end of it. So we will be having organizers like yourself. You're going to get Scott's going to send you some forms, like some sign-up sheets and things like that, so you can get people's names and their emails and contact information, so that we can create this network to kind of keep moving. So those are the purposes of the vigil, and we want you to kind of remember that it's not for you to be like, a superhero and be all defiant and be all loud and fuck the police. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it is F the police, but you got other things to think about tomorrow. All right. Scott, is Larry back? Larry, you back? Larry's not back. All right, Scott. Let's talk about what to say, what not to say.
Sure. So we wanted to take a little time to talk to folks about just promoting the event and follow up with your RSVPs. So as Feminista just said, we want to keep the language tight around what these are. We're calling them vigils. We're doing a moment of silence. The folks who are attending are not protesters or demonstrators. They're mourners. And then we're just encouraging folks to put your information out on, to advertise your event. Make sure you're sharing it with your personal networks and sharing it on social media. If you have a permit for your event, which I'm going to assume most people do not, and that's okay, you can advertise it more broadly. Otherwise, keep it within the networks of folks that just for we don't want to, kind of unnecessarily alert authorities who might come and try to say you need a permit before you can get your event started. We're going to talk in a moment about, hey folks, if you're just joining, if you can mute your phones. We got a little background noise right now, so if you hit the mute button on your phone, or you can hit *6 to mute yourself through the system here. Just another one other tip for just increasing turnout and making sure people follow through is that if folks are signed up via your event on the Facebook page, you should be able to email folks who have signed up. Message folks who have signed up through Facebook. So I recommend doing that tomorrow, giving folks that reminder, and sharing any additional details you want to with them, encouraging them to share it within their networks, things of that nature. Yeah, so that's kind of the deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
who you are. We're so happy to have you. That's wonderful. If you are just joining the event, we ask that you mute your phone because though I have been told I have a rather sexy voice, I don't want to hear you moaning to it. So please mute and listen as the smooth sounds of FJ, Larry, and and teach you some new things about life. Okay, so you're prepping for this event, right? So a lot of you have done this. You have those. Did anybody see the movie PCU where she had her own placard, but it was like a dry erase board because she was like changing her purpose every week. A lot of you have that because this is what you do. You are soldiers in the army of whatever the issue is of the week. Some of you are like, what? Goes on here. So we're going to help you out with some basic things. If these things seem basic to you, I apologize. But here we go. So a vigil. A lot of times, who is trying to call me? Oh, my man is trying to call me. I gotta send him the voicemail. Lord have mercy. Okay. So candles, right? So when a lot of times you bring candles to a vigil, particularly if it's in the evening, and it really is just kind of lighting a candle and kind of remembering the spirit of the people and the flame that was in them that got extinguished by these brutal ass police, right? So we want to light candles. If you encounter police or anybody who's telling you that you cannot have open flames on the fire, on the street or park, wherever you are, please don't fight that. That's not something that we need to fight about, okay? You can extinguish the candles, it's fine. You don't have to have candles, it's also fine. I said for people to bring red cloths just to have something that's easily identifiable on your arm. However, if you are in gang territory, please do not wear red. If your vigil is going to be somewhere where wearing red could cause harm to you, do not wear that. On your respective pages, please give people a color that they can wear. I don't know if it's white, I don't know whatever it is. Just something that people can identify each other. So that I'm going to leave that up to you. You know better. But if you can wear red just on your right arm. It could be on your wrist, upper arm, whatever. That's just how we're going to know each other, be able to identify each other, and that's how we'll show solidarity, particularly for onlookers. We want you to bring signs that have the names of people who have lost their lives to police brutality, who have been injured by police brutality. Maybe there's names that, like I said earlier, they may not be nationally known, but they're known in your local community. I think most communities know stories where really bad things happen with the police. So, you definitely can have that. We are asking that you remember to be inclusive. This is an issue that we had with some of the Facebook pages. They focus anybody who is like feminine of center has been targeted by police and have had really, I mean, let's not forget Stonewall, what, 45 years ago, like, or something like that. Like, we can't forget these things. The police don't give a shit about anybody. So let's not forget those folks as well. Organizer, we're asking that we hope by now you have already looked into your local assembly laws. You should know whether or not you can congregate on sidewalks, in parks, in front of state buildings. You should know by now whether or not you need a permit. One of the reasons why we were pushing the visual issue and kind of telling people to kind of focus on parks and such is because you can assemble in most open parks. But some of you are like, we're going to the state building, and I'm like, I hope you have a permit, because that's going to draw the attention of police, and we just don't want things to turn ugly. So make sure you know the laws, bring copies, make sure that people that are coming know. You can put it on your Facebook pages. Again, you can alert people, hey, in Wausau, Michigan, you cannot stand here, so you guys have to make sure that you know that. Water bottles, encourage people to bring water. These events, people are often standing. It's still summertime. We don't want people fainting. A lot of times people get emotionally overwhelmed and they faint and things like that. So please bring water. Recording devices, we want to document this as much as possible. I know that we're in the show me stage, but this is actually going to work to our advantage. If you've been following me for a long time, you know about my mantra about change the narrative. It is very important that we document our history and we tell our stories. So we are able to do that by creating primary sources. These are pictures, these are videos, these are tweets, all of this stuff. Use Facebook, use Twitter, use Instagram, use Vine, and make sure that you are using the NMOS14 hashtag, okay? We want to make sure that we can get all of this, we want to get it trending, and we want people to see that in the currently 86 vigils we have planned, yes, we have 86 vigils planned across the United States, from Maine to Hawaii, okay? We want to make sure that the world knows that the citizens of the United States are done and we are not dealing with this anymore. We are able to come together and show solidarity, okay? We want to show the world, we want to show our government, we want to make that known, so please document it. And then the sign-up sheets, as Scott and Larry talked about, you will receive a toolkit via email that will have sign-up sheets. So again, we need to collect information from people so we're able to start working on the next steps. All right, Larry, why don't you talk about what's going to happen at the event and interactions with media and such? One second, Larry. 1 second. They're saying that they absolutely cannot hear you on Google+. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay. All right. Hopefully people can hear me now on Google+. Yeah, just so that.
Hear them on Google+, please.
Yeah, just saw that I had it on mute. Sorry about that. So at the event, there may be press coverage, there may be attention from the press, and what you should do in that event, just have someone at the ready to talk to the press, and someone who has some sense and can stay on message. In your toolkit, you'll find some talking points about what we're doing, but it's important to mainly remain nonviolent in your language and in your actions, and keep with the message of peace and promoting solidarity. And so now I'll let Scott go ahead and go on to talk about interacting with police.
All right. Thanks, Larry. So, folks.
People to mute, please.
Yes, please. If you just got on, if you're just joining us, we're asking folks to mute their phones. Larry? Yeah, I think we're hearing somebody's. Yes, somebody has delay on there. I'm sorry. Right. Okay, I think we're good to go. Thank you all. Again, if you're just joining us, please do mute your phones. Press the mute button on your phone, or you can hit *6 to mute your phone through the conference call system. Hearing just a little bit of crackling in the back, it's not too bad. But if you can mute that beat.
Wait, Scott, you're muted on the call, but you can hear you on Google.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Hold on, yeah. Let's make sure we get Scott back on here.
All right, you all can hear me everywhere now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about dealing with police at your event. There's a one-pager that's going to be included in the toolkit, and it's really basic. There's like 3 basic points. Just want to say that if you're organizing one of these events, and especially if your event is large, you will likely be monitored by the police, and potentially, they'll try to talk to someone. And I just think we have to also just be realistic. There are 86 of these events around the country. Many of them have large numbers of signups. They've been organized over social media, so it is very likely that local law enforcement is aware already of your event, and will have folks will have some kind of representation there, especially given the nature of what we've been seeing in other parts of the country, particularly in Missouri. Just gotta know that police will be, they're heightened. Their senses are heightened right now for things that are going on. But as Feminista said earlier, I think this approach that we're doing tomorrow is the right one, and I think one that will not garner a lot of confrontation with police. But just want to give folks some tips in terms of dealing with them in case you do have contact with police at your event. So first of all, just wanted to remind folks, you do have a constitutional right to free assembly and free speech, so don't be intimidated by police. But there are some basic things that you can do to make relations with police go more smoothly should you come in contact with them. So first of all, designate a liaison to talk to police. Just as Larry was saying about media, you want to have 1 or 2 people who have the defined role of talking to police, who can direct them to you as the organizer if necessary. So these need to be people that that you've had some contact with in the past, that you trust. So if there's somebody that you know who's coming, or it sounds like some people are organizing these as a part of their work with organizations or local community groups or churches. Think about folks who you trust to be level-headed and to be calm in dealing with the police. If you don't have somebody like that, you should be prepared to take on that role yourself. So that's what we call that person, excuse me, a police liaison. The other thing about it is if you at your event, make sure, once if you see police on the scene, make sure that the attendees to your event also know who the designated police liaisons are, and that you do not want them to have conversations with the police. And we certainly do not want anybody directing any comments or chants or anything like that towards police. But I think with the tone of these events, if we do them right, folks will get that. The second thing is something that's been mentioned previously on the call already, is the notion of permits. So if you have a permit, that's great. If you don't have one, you're fine. Don't sweat it. But the larger your event, the more likely that you'll be asked if you do have a permit. Tell the police you do not have a permit if you don't have one. That's fine. Don't lie to them. They're gonna know, actually, because they'll have a record of who has permits for things. But some things that then if you don't have a permit, you may or may not be in violation of some local ordinance or something like that. If police tell you that you need a permit, unless you really know the ins and outs of the legalities and technicalities, don't argue with them over it. Explain to them what you're doing, the nature of the event, that it's peaceful. Let them know the duration of the event, so when you expect it to be over. A lot of times when police know that, once they hear the tone of these events, and I think that, once they have confidence that it's going to end in a reasonable amount of time, then more than likely they're going to make that calculation that it's not worth it to, to try and shut the event down or do something else. But what they may do is ask you to do smaller things, don't stand on the sidewalk. If you may have candles, depending on some places, like for instance, I've done actions on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. You can't have an open flame on Capitol Hill. So little things like that, just, pretty much consider complying with the small things that don't interfere with the overall purpose of the event. I think Feminista was making this point earlier. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill, I guess as the saying goes. But I don't think that a lot of folks will be having, will have issues with the police, but you may need to talk to them just a little bit to explain what's happening. The other point that we're making earlier is make sure that you make the point, this isn't a rally, it's not a protest. We're here mourning the loss of people in our communities. We see these all the time, impromptu vigils in communities when we've lost someone. Those things are usually left alone. So, I think that's how I would frame the event for them. One piece of advice I have for folks, if you're concerned about police presence at your event, especially if your event's larger, think about reaching out to some legal support. One organization that I can recommend is the National Lawyers Guild. They have chapters around the country. They may or may not have one in your particular community. Probably the folks who are in larger cities probably will have that. But and this will be in the toolkit, but they have a website. It's really simple, www.nlg, that's for National Lawyers Guild, www.nlg.org, and there's a link on the site to find where their chapters are around the country, and you'll likely find contact information from one in your community. So even if it is tomorrow and it's day of the event, you may still be able to reach somebody, and they can either give you advice on the laws governing gatherings in your community, and they may even be able to send someone to be a representative and help to liaison with the police. So that's just a tip. If you don't have one in your community, again, it's not I wouldn't worry too much about it. Last thing is just, and again, folks, if you just joined us or you've come off mute for some reason, if you could please mute your phones. We have a heavy breather on the phone. Sounds like Darth Vader.
I'm trying.
But so if everybody could mute. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to wrap up really quickly here. This last part is going to be common sense to most people, but just want to reiterate, when you're talking to the police, your interaction could go in a lot of different directions. Sometimes police are just, they just don't have the right orientation. I don't have to remind anybody in this moment right now, but some of them may, be condescending or insulting. they may be feeling defensive in this moment because they know these events are about police brutality, although, probably not targeted to them as an individual. So just keep that in mind. Again, most police also, not most, I shouldn't say that. A lot of police also um, are carrying with them the same biases that a lot of people in society have around race, gender, class, sexuality, disability. So you may get reactions that you think are feel or just are obviously based in that. We just want to, remind everybody to just stay calm. As the leaders of these events, we got to set the tone and how interaction is going to be with the police. So just be calm and respectful. Act like you expect to be treated with respect. Hopefully, you'll have respectful interactions with those folks. Um, if you, by any chance, have an officer who you feel is being disrespectful, or even somebody tells you you got to break this event up, I would always ask if you can speak to a superior officer. So to ask if you can speak to their commanding officer. And if they comply with that, that person may have a little more sense. That person may be more oriented towards public relations and understand that breaking up an event like this is not going to look good. So that's one kind of strategy for dealing with a police officer who may be giving you a problem or trying to put up some resistance to these events happening. Again, just be prepared. You may have to negotiate with them a little bit. They say, hey, you can't stand right here. Okay, can we stand over here? Little things like that. Just, be prepared to compromise a little bit around things like that, as long as, again, it doesn't undermine the fundamental goals of the event. So that's our advice. Be calm, be respectful, make sure you have police liaisons. If police want to know what's going on, why you don't have a permit, just explain them the nature of the event, when it'll be over. I'm confident that we will, all of these events will be fine, and we won't have to worry about those things. But these are just some tips. Again, all this information will be in the toolkit as well. So that's it for me.
So some questions have come up, and I want to end the conversation on what to do after the vigil. I kind of want to slide into the questions really quickly. So people move to another location if they're told to disperse. I think that Scott addressed some of that, like he said. If you have one or two people that are designated to speak to police, excuse me, ask to speak to the superior and ask them to explain why they're asking you to disperse when you're not doing anything wrong. If they insist and they really start calling in for like vans of backup, then I would say, this is my suggestion of Scott, Larry, you can weigh in. I suggest turning it into a walk. A silent kind of vigil walk. So if it's 50 of you and you're at the park and you've got your candles and they're coming and they're really acting like jerks, whoever the organizers are, leave people in a walk and start walking down the street. Because you're allowed to walk down the street.
Feminista, one clarification. That's a very smart recommendation to folks. Hold on. No, it is. But I just want to clarify one thing. So in most places, it is not necessarily legal to walk down the street, but it is almost always legal to walk on the sidewalk. So you can lead your folks.
I said street. I'm from New York. My bad. I got to remember that I'm speaking to people from all around the country. When I say street, I mean, okay, so walk, not some street traffic. If you have a sidewalk, please walk on the sidewalk. That is my bad, because I've been to some people who had to do that before. I apologize for the language translation. Even just walking around the park, if you're in the park and they ask you to move, you can kind of all walk to another part of the park. And if they follow you there, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, really kind of roll, what social workers say, roll with resistance. Kind of roll with it, because you don't want to push to the agitating kind of points. I apologize. I was unclear about that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, you just want to, like he said, not make a mountain out of a molehill. What to do if stragglers come and end up causing ruckus, combining that with the question about dealing with Occupy and others. So let me tell you something what I know about Occupy, right? Occupy, and if some of you are on this call, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you are Occupy. Y'all will occupy any movement. You will jump on any kind of thing that you see happening. And I've experienced with me for algorithms like that. There's support there, but sometimes support comes in and you don't necessarily understand what the primary perspective is. So sometimes where some Occupy or some other kind of organizers, what have you, or stragglers even come and want to be rambunctious and loud and kind of stir things up. Again, you have point people, you need to point people that you really trust, to be the ones that kind of liaise with the police and with the stragglers and calmly say, hey, what it is. And ask that all people coming and your contingency knows, just let people know that you are having a vigil for a loved one. Okay? And a lot of people will just move on, or they'll stay, or whatever. But if somebody starts really loud and comes out with the bongos and the megaphone, whatever, just really kind of sternly ask them, great freedom of expression, can you move it 100 feet away or something like that? Okay. What if it rains? It's August. It rains a lot in this country. Rain happens. You are calling rain, and I think, you know, an umbrella, a poncho, you have everybody comes out. Now, in some areas like here, so please exercise caution while you're traveling. All right, be safe. Meaning, but I'm gonna let Scott and Larry. What if people do get interviews with the police and do someone does get arrested? What's the best kind of response for the organizers or people that are
Well, it really depends on a number of factors, and ultimately it's a decision that's going to have to be made. Obviously, again, folks, if you're just joining us or otherwise, if you can mute your phones, you can press *6 to mute your phone. Getting a lot of feedback right now. All right. I'm going to just try and press through. I apologize to folks. I'm not sure what this is, but again, all right. Sounds like we sound a little bit better right now. All right. So, in terms of if someone gets arrested, this is one of the reasons why you want to have a police liaison. If someone can early on establish a relationship with police on site, especially if they start interacting with people in the nature that someone could get arrested, you want to be able to ask the police questions about where they're taking people, what charges they file they're charging folks with. Hopefully they will provide that information. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you as an organizer. It may be that someone has done something that is like totally outside of the parameters of what we're asking people to do, and whether you want to take responsibility for that is really a personal decision. And you should consult with other folks who are helping you to organize around that. It's another reason why, though, I do recommend reaching out to the National Lawyers Guild. Again, that's nlg.org. You can find your local chapter on their website. Those folks will be extremely helpful. They will have been through the process before, more than likely, of seeing folks getting arrested at protests and have a good idea of what the process is going to be around those people, around anybody getting arrested. There's, in protests where we know folks are getting arrested, we plan for things like bail money to get people out. But obviously we're not planning for folks to get arrested tomorrow, but if folks wanted to go to that level, you may take up a collection or something right there at your event. But again, it's going to be about your judgment in the situation and whether or not you want to respond in support of people who've been arrested. Again, these events should not lead to arrests. So more than likely, either the police have gotten out of overly aggressive and in doing that, or someone who's attending the event is obviously acting outside of the parameters of what we're asking people to do at these events. If it's the former and the police have just gotten out of hand, again, you can try to find out where they're taking someone. If you want to think about how to get them out, you can try and follow up, go to the police station. But you'll have to have their name. If no one knows who they are, it's going to be extremely difficult to help anybody who's been arrested. So that's basically my advice. Again, nothing about this event should lead to arrests. So I would say also, but I would say this: if social media can be a good tool also to both put pressure on local departments to release people. So if something like that is happening, this is the last thing: document it. So get the feminists already mentioned this. Just for the vigils in general, we want to get as many pictures and as much video as possible. But definitely, if something like that happens, get the cameras out. We all have a right to videotape the police. My recommendation is that if you're having like those police liaison conversations, that you not videotape those, just because that's going to antagonize them. But once you feel like they've crossed the line, get the cameras out, get them from every angle, and then that's something that can be shared out. But also, it's just something that generally, a lot of the time, and I know it's hard, maybe hard to believe in the wake of the Eric Garner situation, but a lot of the times cameras are a good deterrent to bad police behavior. You have a right to video them. So that's kind of my advice. It's going to be up to folks on the ground to make decisions about how much support you want to lend to someone who's been arrested.
I definitely say that, and I've actually talked about that in other conversations. When I see a group of police kind of in New York City kind of surrounding one person, I stand there and I take my camera out and I just point it at them, because I want them to know that I am watching and that I'm there. And that does often serve as a deterrent. So there's another question: should children come? And that's really, 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 really a tricky one. I am bringing my son, because my son actually goes to camp in the park that we're going to be in. I'm bringing my son because I think that it would be a good example, and he is old enough to understand what's going on, and I feel comfortable with that. But that's my judgment call as a mother. My son is 7, but I also named my son Garvey X, so you can already tell what our family's about. However, if you have a 9-month-old and you're going to a vigil that has 600 people, I might think twice before doing that, just from the crowd issues and just just that kind of thing. If you can leave your children at home or with someone else, that's great. If you do want to bring them, just be mindful of your surroundings. If things seem like they could possibly get out of hand, you might want to take your kid and go. Okay, so just be really careful with that. Yeah. Okay. So let's Larry, can you jump on and let's talk about what the next steps are? Because you and I talked a bit about that today. So if you can talk to people about what are we thinking about next? Like, we've got the vigil. The vigils have happened. We've been able to organize 80, almost 90 vigils in like less than 4 full days. What are we doing with this momentum, and where are we going?
All right, so in regards to the next steps, we definitely...
You're muted on the conference call.
Oh, wow, okay. Let's fix that.
I can't hear you. Oh, there you
All
go.
right, so I'm on the conference call again. Sorry, it's like going back and forth between two of these things is confusing after a long day. But, all right, so in regards to next steps, we want to make sure that we capture this momentum and keep it moving forward. So what we're going to be doing is reconvening again next week on Thursday around the same time, 7 o'clock, and we're asking people to host their own community meetings. These meetings can be at your home, at a local restaurant, but they can be small gatherings, large gatherings, but these will be events that we host to plan what our next steps for action are. So what we want to do is not just have a series of events, but be able to strategically move forward to make real change, to prevent incidents like this from happening again. There are a few policies that people are advocating for. Many of you may have signed the change.org petition that advocated for a few policies that have been proven to reduce police brutality. But it's central to not just have the policies in mind that can make these changes. We know some of the things that can help, but we need to start pushing for these at our local level. And so this includes advocating for local laws that you have in place to be changed. So it's important to come together and understand what your current legal situation is in your town and in your neighborhood. But it also includes national discussions and national laws that we'll advocate for. So after the event, there will be follow-up emails sent to folks that had hosted these events, and we'll be going into further detail about the next steps. But know this, that we should all be planning to convene group meetings next week on Thursday to start planning out further actions to push for policies that can change the situation, so we don't let this just be another vigil, another gathering that doesn't end up with any results. Scott, did you want to go any further into next steps?
No, Larry, I think you hit it. The one thing I would reiterate is this is why the sign-up sheets are so important. So you're going to get sign-up sheets for the event. So we have all of, how to get in touch with all of you. And what we want is to be able to reach and touch all the hundreds of people who are, well, I shouldn't say hundreds, thousands, clearly, who are going to be coming out tomorrow. So, look at the number of people you're expecting. Try to print as many of those sheets as possible. Get some help passing them around. We need to.
Got muted on the call. There you go. Well, I hear Larry.
Okay.
There you go.
I'm not sure what was going on, but I would just say, just reiterating to everybody, in order, if you're really, especially if you're interested in taking follow-up steps, or even just creating the ability for somebody else to take on the next steps, that sign-up list is going to be so important. So please make sure you have folks who can pass it around. Make sure you have enough of them, and just reiterate to people how important it is that we are able to continue the conversation beyond the moment of silence. So yeah, that's it.
So also, just to add to that, so the other piece is that, the follow-up to this event, starts even before the event. So everybody who wants to continue with this and continue pushing forward to make these changes, you all should start thinking through places in your area where you can host a follow-up meeting, and start putting that together now. And also at the event, network with people, ask the audience who in the crowd is willing to host a follow-up event and community meeting. And once you get all that locked down and get the information into the sign-up sheet, it's going to be important to get that information back to us. So with your sign-up sheets, please designate someone or yourself to go home and just enter the names of folks who said they'd sign up, and in order to continue participating, and get that information entered into a spreadsheet and send it right over to us, and we can make sure that we can follow up on that, even if you're not able to follow up on it, for those who want to continue participating. Also, directly after the event, before next week, you will receive another toolkit for the follow-up events. And so be prepared and be on the lookout for that. And so after this call, right now, you're going to receive the toolkit for your event, and be prepared for that. You all have my email, I believe, if you're on this call. But if you don't, it is lstaffordjr@gmail.com. My name on Twitter is Larry Stafford Jr. on Twitter, so it's pretty easy to find me. And just hit me up if you have any questions or you haven't received the toolkit.
So I just want to, just a couple of things to add to that. Thank you guys so much for your, I mean, you really sharing so much valuable information with everybody. Just a couple of more things. Somebody had asked me before why I chose Thursday, because if you get arrested on Friday, you're going to spend the whole weekend there, okay? So I do all of my activism type stuff on I do my activism type stuff on Thursdays, and I do my health and fitness stuff on Thursdays, because that's the day when the least amount of people are likely to be at the gym. So, so that's just a random tidbit about why Thursday, because at least if you get arrested tonight, you can try to be out by the morning. If you get arrested on a Friday, you're going to be there till Monday morning and stuff. So at your next meetings, right, the next step meetings, one of the things that I think that this was mentioned a little bit, I just want to reiterate that you got to focus on what your local laws say. So here we are. If anybody has been paying attention to what's been going on with same-sex marriage, if you've noticed that it's been state by state. It's been state by state by state. And as each state has, banned, has said that the ban against same-sex marriage is against the Constitution, whatever, blah, 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 it strengthened the cause. And so more states and more states and more states are just like, we can't do this, here's the precedent. So when you focus on the local level, you really, really, really can come together and affect amazing change. So we kind of want you guys to look at your state and local laws related to police-like interaction with people. For example, New York City had stop and frisk, which was a legal thing that they could do. They could randomly stop you if they had a suspicion that you were doing something, and they could frisk you, which for many times it ended up being sexual assault and violation of a person's body. So they were able to do that, and it was resistance. It was people speaking up and saying, no, we're not going to accept this. They compiled data. They were able to present it in a way that it's no longer the law, right? So what's happening in your local cities? What are the laws there? What are police allowed to do? What are citizens allowed to do? How well do you know your right? I've come to realize that most of us don't know what our rights are when it comes to assembly, interacting with police, etc. So your next meeting really needs to be about making sure that the people in your area know what their rights are, right? So that could be like a focal point for you. Also, we understand that a lot of you are just trying to do this vigil this one time, and that is fine. If that's all you can do, and this is all you were able to pull, I got somebody that's 9 months pregnant and all these other things, like we understand that. We are using this opportunity to identify people who are really trying to make a difference in their community. So if that is you and you are feeling compelled, or there are people in your at your vigils who just seem really excited and energetic about what do we do next? What do we do next? Identify those people, and those are the people that we will continue working with going forward. Pool your resources. Do not reinvent the wheel. Many people don't even realize the work that is being done in their cities and their neighborhoods already by organizations, right? So there may be some organizations showing up at your event, and these are people like Scott, like Larry, who have been doing this for a while. Network with them. Find out what they've already done. Try to work with them. If they've got meetings going on and things like that, and you want to join in on that, please do that. Please work with us. Like, build that connection with us. Get that information so that we're all kind of building together. And then somebody's asking about press releases. Again, I'm not a fan of press. This is a vigil. Like, would you have a press release for your best friend's wake? Like, I mean, I hate to say it that way, but what do you need a press release for? Like, it's already on social media, which, as they said, is already going to attract major media. I've already talked to the New York Times and NBC and all these other places. They came to me. I wasn't seeking anybody because I didn't really want that. But I figured if they're going to write about it, I need to give it the spin that I want it to have. You don't need a press release to have a vigil, okay? If you want to get the information out, you can use the tweets, you can use Facebook, what have you. If people are really pressing you, I've noticed, I've been watching outlets come to you guys instead of me, redirect them to me so that we can have a very uniform statement with what these vigils are about, okay? If people are coming to your event and you're giving a statement, please make sure that the statements are in accordance with what has already been written and what's already published, okay? We just want to make sure that we keep these things uniform. And then before we close out, if anybody has any more questions, please tweet me. But how long is the moment of silence? Yes, yes, yes. It is a minute. It's a moment. It's 60 seconds, okay? And you can just, it starts at the 20-minute mark, right? So what we're asking all the organizers, everybody's phone, you know, your phone, your things are going to be a little different, but at the 20-minute mark, before that happens, well, this is what I'm asking. I'm asking that at around the 15-minute mark, you encourage the group to start naming the names of people and kind of sharing those names and remembering them. And then at the 20-minute mark, you all kind of have a collective moment of silence. And you time it for about 60 seconds. And then from there, you go forward. Okay? I hope that makes sense to people. And I totally forgot what the heck I was going to say. I was going to say something really profound and awesome and dope, something about chicken, and I was going to send you on your way, and I totally lost it. Okay, it's important. I'll tweet it, right? You all follow me on Twitter. I am at Feminista Jones. This is, oh, yes, haha, I know what I'm going to do. Before you leave this call, I want you to, well, as you leave this call and as you prep tonight and as you get ready to embark on tomorrow, I want you all to get to a point in your mind where you remember what America was like 50 years ago. It's 2014. In 1964, I want you to think about the climate in America. You had the advent of, you know, television. Families were coming together in their homes, watching TV and watching the news together. And as they're watching the news, they're seeing young people, high school students, college students, having food dumped on them at counters, having dogs and hoses chased on them. And they become horrified because they had no idea, or they heard about it but they hadn't seen it. But now they knew. And once they knew, they couldn't ignore it, right? They couldn't turn back. I want you to think about the Voting Rights Act. I want you to think about the gun violence, the gun laws. I want you to think about Martin Luther King's assassination and Malcolm X's assassination and all the people that, you know, Bobby Hutton, all the people that lost their lives during that time, the Freedom Riders and what they did during Freedom Summer. I really want you to reflect on that, because in the last 50 years, how far have we come? Where we're back now and we're all watching on social media something happening like this in a town in middle America, okay? Remember why we are here, remember what we're doing, and think about the ways in which you want to change the world. And I want you to bring that energy to these vigils tomorrow, and I want you all to stand in one accord with everybody at these almost 90 vigils across the country, okay? We are all one, we are all in this together, and we're going to change the world, all right? If you have any follow-up questions, if you are on this call and you didn't receive the email, please, please, please contact me. I want to make sure that we have your email address. We want to make sure that we can get these toolkits out to you as well. So thank you again, everybody, for just stepping up. Just really, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to use that language. Thank you for speaking up and being the person that says, I'm going to take this lead. I am going to do something. I am going to inspire others as I have been inspired. I appreciate you. Each one of you on this call is inspiring me and getting me through not having sleep and not really being able to eat. So thank you, okay? We're going to do wonderful things tomorrow, all right? Thank you so much. You all have a good evening, sleep well, and tomorrow's the day, all right? All right. I'm going to say bye. Bye! Okay, I'm going to hang up now. Bye.
Peace.
All right.